The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with activity. Hundreds of alien representatives moved about, their bodies of all shapes and sizes creating a living mosaic of galactic life. Some floated on hover platforms, others walked, on multiple legs. A few existed as pure energy contained in special suits. Despite their differences, they all shared one concern today. Counselor Zexitara moved to the center platform. Her skin glowed with blue and green patterns that shifted with her mood. She tapped her crystal staff 3 times on the floor. The sound echoed through the massive room, and the noise died down. "We must talk about Earth," she said. Her voice translated into hundreds of languages simultaneously. "The humans have not sent any messages for 3 full cycles. They do not answer our calls. Something is wrong." The mention of Earth caused many delegates to shift uncomfortably. The humans had joined the galactic community only 50 years earlier, when their first faster-than-light ship accidentally entered council space. At first, everyone welcomed them. Humans seemed eager to learn and trade. But soon, many council members grew worried. Humans developed new technologies too quickly. They asked too many questions. They expanded their colonies faster than any young species should. Councillor Blocks waved 4 of his 8 arms dismissively. "Perhaps they destroyed themselves," he suggested, mandibles clicking with each word. "Their history is full of wars. Maybe they finally had one too many." Ambassador Kral, a tall reptilian with iridescent scales, shook his head. "Our monitoring stations show no signs of nuclear war or natural disasters. Their planet appears normal. They simply stopped talking to us." "Could their communication systems have failed?" asked a delegate from the methane-breathing Vorlon. "Confederacy. All of them? Across their entire system?" Kral replied. "Unlikely. Something else is happening." What the council didn't know was that Earth's silence came from careful planning. In a secret vote, the United Nations Space Authority had decided to cut all official contact with the Galactic Council. This decision came after Earth spies found hidden council records that revealed uncomfortable truths. Deep beneath, the Rocky Mountains on Earth, Admiral Alan Grant stood in the command center of humanity's defense force. The large underground room hummed with activity as officers monitored screens showing Earth's defenses and the movements of council ships. Grant was not a young man. His hair had turned gray years ago during the Mars colony crisis. Deep lines marked his face, telling stories of difficult decisions and sleepless nights. But his eyes remained sharp and clear as he studied the big holographic map showing council space. "Are the Sentinel platforms ready?" he asked, without looking, away from the map. Lieutenant Olivia Wilson stood beside him. Her dark uniform carried fewer medals than the Admiral's, but her presence commanded respect. "Yes, sir. All 17 secret observation posts are working perfectly. The Council has no idea we're watching everything they do." "And Project Prometheus?" "Ahead of schedule," Wilson answered with a small smile. "Dr. Samantha Rivera says the prototype is ready for testing." Grant nodded slowly. For the first time in weeks, he allowed himself to feel a hint of hope. "Good. Let the Council think we've gone quiet because of some internal problem. Let them believe we're weak or confused." He turned to face Wilson directly. "When they learn the truth, it will be too late for them to stop us." Wilson's expression grew serious. "Sir, do you really think the Council meant to keep us down? Could we be wrong about their intentions?" "I wish we were wrong, Lieutenant. But the evidence is clear. Every species that's gotten too advanced too quickly has been managed. Some through economic pressure, others through engineered conflicts with neighbors. The Council presents itself as a peaceful alliance, but it's really about control. And now they're worried because they can't control us anymore," Wilson said, understanding in her eyes. "Exactly. And that makes them dangerous." In her laboratory orbiting Jupiter, Dr. Samantha Rivera worked with intense focus. The room around her was filled with equipment that would make even the top council scientists jealous if they knew it existed. Rivera wiped sweat from her forehead as she made final adjustments to what looked like an ordinary communications satellite. But this device contained technology that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. System check complete, reported her assistant, Kyle Daniels. Power levels stable. Rivera nodded without looking up from her work. Begin primary sequence test. Daniels typed commands into his console. The device in the center of the room began to hum quietly. A soft blue glow emerged from its core, spreading outward until it filled the laboratory with gentle light. Field strength at 60%, 75%, 90%. Daniels called out readings from his screen, excitement building in his voice. Field stabilized at 100%. It's working, Doctor. Rivera allowed herself a smile as she watched the readings on her own screen. Power consumption is within expected parameters. No detectable radiation leakage. She took a deep breath. We did it, Kyle. Project Prometheus works. How long before we can deploy the full network? Daniels asked. 3 months for the Sol system implementation, 6 months for the first expansion phase. Rivera picked up a small device from her workbench, a handheld version of the larger machine. And these personal units will be ready for distribution to our agents next week. On a screen behind them, a real-time simulation showed what would happen when the Prometheus network activated. The paths and systems that Council ships relied on for faster-than-light travel would suddenly become treacherous or impassable. Their advanced weapons would malfunction. Their seemingly magical technology would fail them. Rivera wasn't normally a poetic person. She dealt in facts, figures, and scientific principles. But seeing their years of work finally succeed moved something deep inside her. Earth didn't start this, she said quietly. We just wanted to join the galactic community as equals. But the Council never intended to let that happen. They gave us outdated technology while claiming it was cutting edge. They restricted where we could travel and colonize. They watched us like we were children who couldn't be trusted. Daniels nodded. And now the children have grown up faster than expected. Much faster, Rivera agreed. The Council species think in terms of centuries. They believe proper development takes generations. They weren't prepared for our speed or adaptability. Back in the Council chamber, the debate about Earth continued. I propose we send a full diplomatic mission to investigate, Ambassador Krell said. If the humans are in trouble, we should offer assistance. And if they are deliberately avoiding contact? Asked Counselor Zexitara. Then we need to know why, Krell answered simply. Supreme Elder Dawes, one of the oldest beings in the Council, spoke for the first time. His ancient voice silenced the chamber instantly. In my long life, I have observed that when a species falls suddenly silent, it is rarely a good sign. The Elder's eyes, having witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, held a deep worry. Send your mission, Ambassador Krell, but be prepared for what you might find. As the Council meeting ended, no one noticed the small maintenance drone cleaning the chamber's air filters. No one suspected that its ordinary appearance hid advanced Earth technology. No one realized that every word spoken in the supposedly secure chamber was being transmitted directly to Admiral Grant's command center. Earth was silent, but it was listening. Earth was silent, but it was preparing. Earth was silent, but soon, very soon, it would speak again, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months passed without a single message from Earth. The Galactic Council could no longer ignore the strange silence from the human world. After much debate, they decided to send a team to find out what was happening. The Council ship Harmonious. Inquiry dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. The sleek vessel gleamed like polished silver in the light of Earth's sun. 5 different alien species made up the crew, led by Ambassador Krell himself. Begin broadcasting peaceful messages on all frequencies, Krell ordered, his reptilian, scales reflecting the blue light of the ship's control room. Tell the humans we come as friends and concerned allies. The communications officer, a small being with 4 arms and large eyes, worked quickly at the controls. Broadcasting now, Ambassador. No response yet. Krell moved to the main viewport and looked at the distant blue dot that was Earth. Keep trying, he said quietly. They must hear us. Minutes turned to hours. The harmonious inquiry moved deeper into the solar system. They passed the gas giants, Jupiter and Saturn, with their many moons. They noticed human structures on some of these moons, but received no greetings or warnings. "This is most unusual," said Science Officer Trell, her feathered head tilting with confusion. "Our sensors show normal levels of activity around their planet. Their orbital stations appear functional. Their communications satellites are intact. Yet they ignore us completely," Kral said, growing more concerned by the minute. The ship continued its approach toward Earth. When they reached the orbit of Mars, they launched small probe drones to gather information without entering Earth's immediate space. "The probes will give us a clearer picture without violating Earth's territory," Kral explained to his crew. "We must be respectful, but also cautious." Meanwhile, in the United Nations Space Command headquarters beneath Geneva, Director Elizabeth Carter watched the alien vessel on a large screen. The underground facility buzzed with quiet activity as officers tracked the Council ship's movements. Carter was a woman who didn't waste time with unnecessary words or movements. Her short gray hair framed a face that had seen too many crises to be easily surprised. But today, even she felt the tension in the air. "They're scanning our defense grid," reported Chief Technician Paul Davis, his fingers moving quickly over his control panel. "Let them look," Carter replied calmly. "They'll only see what we want them to see." What the Council couldn't detect were the thousands of new facilities hidden throughout the solar system. Some lay deep beneath Earth's oceans. Others were built inside hollowed-out asteroids. Many more were hidden in the shadows of moons that the Council considered unimportant. The Council believed humans were mostly confined to Earth and Mars. They had no idea how far humanity had actually spread throughout their home system. The door to the command center slid open, and Dr. William Chen entered. He was the head of the Reverse Engineering Division, responsible for studying the limited technology the Council had shared with Earth. He carried a tablet computer and looked eager to share his findings. "Director, we've confirmed our suspicions," Chen said, his voice low but excited. "The Council archives that our agents accessed before we went dark? They deliberately gave us outdated technology." Carter nodded, unsurprised. "Classic control, strategy. Keep the newcomers dependent and behind." "There's more," Chen continued, placing his tablet on the table to show her the information. "Their historical records show they've done this before. The Talarians refused Council guidance 300 years ago. The Council labeled them as unstable and cut them off from all advanced technology. Their civilization collapsed within decades." Carter's eyes narrowed as she studied the information. "So we made the right call by going silent." "Absolutely," Chen agreed. "If we had continued following their development plan, we would have remained under their thumb for centuries." Carter turned back to the main screen showing the Council vessel. "And now they've come to check on their experiment. I wonder what they'll do when they realize the lab rats have escaped their cage, hidden from the Council's sensors by new cloaking." Technology Commander Ryan Foster supervised the shipyards orbiting Jupiter. Unlike the simple vessels and defensive platforms the Council had seen before, these new ships incorporated the revolutionary technologies developed under Project Prometheus. The largest of these ships, the Earth Force Ship Defiance, was nearly complete. Its hull was made of materials the Council had never shown humans. Its weapon systems used principles the Council believed humans were centuries from discovering. Foster stood at the observation window of the control station, watching, as workers in spacesuits added the final components to the Defiance's outer hull. Pride swelled in his chest at what humanity had accomplished in such a short time. His communications officer interrupted his thoughts. "Commander, the Council ship Harmonious Inquiry is requesting direct contact with Earth's leadership." Foster glanced at the holographic display showing the alien vessel's position near Earth. "Let them wait," he said firmly. "Director Carter will decide when, or if, we answer them." "Yes, sir," the officer replied. "Should we inform the hidden outposts to maintain radio silence?" "Absolutely. No one broadcasts anything without direct authorization." Foster turned back to the window. "We've worked too hard to reveal ourselves. Too soon." Back on Earth, In a secure meeting room deep beneath Geneva, humanities leaders gathered to discuss the situation. Admiral Grant and Director Carter presented their findings to the assembled officials from around the world. The room was simple but functional. A large round table filled the center, with screens on all walls showing various data about Earth's defenses and the Council ship. The Council is not what it claims to be, Grant explained to the group. They present themselves as peaceful guardians of galactic harmony. In reality, they carefully control the development of all new species to ensure none ever threatens the power of the founding races. Dr. Rivera joined the meeting via secure hologram from her laboratory near Jupiter. Her image flickered slightly as she spoke. Project Prometheus is ready for full activation. Once we turn it on, the Council's technological advantages will be neutralized within our area of space. The room fell silent as everyone considered what this meant. Finally, Secretary General Marcus Jackson spoke, his deep voice somber. If we take this step, there's no turning back, he said, looking around the table. The Council will see it as a direct challenge to their authority. Director Carter nodded. Yes, they will, but they've left us no choice. We've seen their records. Any species that accepts their guidance remains forever under their control. Any that resists is isolated and eventually fails. What makes us different? Asked one of the officials. Why would we succeed where others failed? Admiral Grant leaned forward, his eyes intense. Because we discovered their game early. Because we've developed technologies they don't understand. And because, he added with a slight smile, they think our silence means weakness or confusion. They should have recognized it as something far more dangerous. Preparation. Secretary General Jackson took a deep breath and looked at each person in the room. Then we are agreed. We continue our silence. We complete the Prometheus network. And we prepare for the day when Earth will speak again. On our terms, not theirs. Dr. Rivera's hologram nodded. The first test of the full Prometheus field begins tomorrow. If successful, we can deploy the entire network within 3 months. As the meeting ended, Director Carter remained at the table, studying the image of the Council ship hovering near Earth. The vessel that once seemed so impressive, so advanced, now looked almost pitiful to her. The Council had no idea what was coming. You should have feared our silence, she whispered to the image. Because silent doesn't mean gone. Silent means planning. Silent means building. Silent means preparing to change everything. Across the solar system, humanity continued its quiet work, building power that the Council could not imagine. Soon, very soon, the silence would be broken, and the galaxy would never be the same again. 1 year had passed since Earth stopped all communications with the Galactic Council. Now the Council's leaders met in an emergency session. Their grand meeting hall, usually organized and calm, buzzed with worried voices. Security Director Thal Vex stood at the center platform, her crystal-like body reflecting the room's lights in sharp patterns that showed her concern. The monitoring station in the Proxima star system has gone dark, she announced. The last message we received mentioned strange energy patterns before all contact was lost. Supreme Elder Daz, one of the oldest members of the ancient progenitor species, leaned forward on his floating throne. His skin was pale and nearly transparent with age, showing the complex network of veins beneath. How many stations have we lost contact with now? He asked, his voice surprisingly strong despite his frail appearance. 7 in the past month alone, Thal Vex replied. All of them near human territory. The room filled with uneasy murmurs. Ambassador Krall, who had led the unsuccessful mission to Earth, stepped forward to address the assembly. During our observation of Earth, we detected no unusual technological advancement, he said, trying to calm the growing fear. Their ships still used basic propulsion and standard weapons. They simply refused to talk to us. Counselor Zexitara, her skin flashing with patterns of doubt, interrupted. Perhaps, but remember the Arcsur incident. They appeared primitive until suddenly they weren't. The mention of the Arcsur brought uncomfortable silence to the room. The Arcsur incident remained one of the darkest chapters in Council history. Seemingly peaceful species had hidden its military development until launching a devastating attack against neighboring systems. Thousands had died before the Council could respond. Surely the humans couldn't hide such development. Kral protested. Our sensors would detect any significant energy signatures or space-time distortions. Would they? Asked Elder Dawes quietly. What if the humans have found technology that operates on principles we don't monitor for? That uncomfortable question hung in the air, unanswered. Meanwhile, humanity's expansion continued unseen by the Council. Using the revolutionary Prometheus technology, Earth had established bases in 12 nearby star systems. Each base housed a larger version of Dr. Rivera's device, what the project team now called dampening fields. Within these fields, the advanced technologies that the Council relied on simply stopped working or operated at greatly reduced power. The quantum communications that allowed instant messages across the galaxy, the gravity manipulation drives that powered their ships, the energy weapons that maintained their military dominance, all became unreliable near the dampening fields. In her new laboratory on the colony world of Haven, Dr. Samantha Rivera monitored the growing network of dampening fields. Haven was a beautiful planet with 2 moons and oceans that shimmered with a slight purple tint, due to the local algae. The human colony there was small but growing rapidly. Rivera's lab was built into a mountainside, with large windows overlooking a valley where construction teams worked on new housing and research facilities. Inside, dozens of scientists and engineers monitored the Prometheus network. Field stability at 97% across all installations, Rivera reported to General Olivia Wilson, who had been promoted to lead humanity's expansion efforts. Wilson stood before a large holographic map showing the growing sphere of human influence. Red dots marked each dampening field generator, while blue lines showed the connections between them. And the range? Wilson asked, studying the map carefully. Each generator creates an effect reaching about 2 light-years in all directions, Rivera explained. She pointed to the overlapping fields on the display. With our current network, we've created a bubble roughly 30 light-years wide where we have technological advantage. And the Council still doesn't understand what's happening? Wilson asked. They can't, Rivera said with confidence. Their scout ships can't get close enough to study the effect without their systems failing. And even if they could, the dampening field operates on principles they've never explored. Director Elizabeth Carter joined their conversation via secure channel from Earth. Her image appeared on a nearby screen, looking tired but satisfied. The Council's scout ships have been trying to penetrate the perimeter. None have succeeded. They still have no idea what they're dealing with. General Wilson's face remained serious despite this good news. They'll figure it out eventually. We need to be ready when they do. Growing increasingly desperate for answers, the Council sent their most advanced research vessel to investigate the strange phenomena. The Empirical Truth was their newest scientific ship, equipped with every sensor and research tool available to Council technology. Chief Scientist Malvor led the mission personally. A member of the highly intelligent Vox species, Malvor had 6 tentacle-like limbs and skin that changed color with his emotions. Currently, his skin showed a deep blue of concentration as he studied the readings on the main bridge display. We're approaching the area where the monitoring station went dark, he informed his crew. All sensors at maximum sensitivity. Record everything. The Empirical Truth slowed as it neared the invisible boundary of what human commanders called the Prometheus sphere. The ship's advanced sensors detected unusual energy readings, but nothing that explained the communication blackout. No signs of weapons discharge or battle damage, reported one of the science officers. No debris consistent with a destroyed station. Could it have been moved? Suggested another officer. Why would... Malvor began, but he never finished. His question. The Empirical Truth crossed the invisible boundary and immediately its systems began failing. First, the faster-than-light communications array went offline. Then the gravity control fluctuated, causing crew members to float momentarily before crashing back to the floor. Navigation computers displayed impossible readings. Power levels dropped rapidly. What's happening? Demanded Malvor. his skin flashing alarmed yellow patterns. "All systems are failing, sir," cried the operations officer. "Power output down to 30% and falling." "Emergency protocols," Malvor ordered. "Switch to analog backup systems." But it was too late. The ship drifted powerless in space, its crew desperately trying to understand what was happening. Emergency lighting cast an eerie red glow through the bridge as backup systems struggled to maintain life support. Malvor stared at the few screens still functioning. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Something is actively suppressing our technology." On the bridge of the Earth Force ship Defiant, Captain Nicole Harris watched the crippled alien vessel on her view screen. The Defiant was humanity's first, true battleship, built with the knowledge gained from studying Council technology and improved upon by human innovation. Harris was young for such an important command, but her record in the Mars colonial conflict had proven her leadership abilities. She sat calmly in the captain's chair, her red hair pulled back in a tight bun as she assessed the situation. "The Council ship has crossed into the dampening field," her tactical officer reported. "Their systems are failing exactly as our scientists predicted." "Life signs?" Harris asked. "All stable. Their life support is operating on minimal power." Harris nodded and made her decision. "Bring us alongside," she ordered, prepared to establish communication and offer assistance. Her crew looked at her in surprise. For over a year, humanity had maintained complete silence with the Council. "Captain?" her first officer questioned. "Are you sure that's wise?" "The time for silence is over," Harris explained, a confident smile forming on her lips. "Now we show them who we really are." As the Defiant moved toward the helpless Council vessel, Harris felt the weight of the moment. What happened next would forever change the relationship between humanity and the Galactic Council. Earth's long silence was about to end, and the galaxy would hear humanity's voice loud and clear. The Galactic Council's grand meeting hall erupted into chaos. On the giant screen at the center of the room, a recording from the Empirical Truth played. The footage showed human vessels, far more advanced than previously known, rescuing the HFY Council's scientific expedition. More disturbing were the scans showing human outposts throughout what the Council had considered unclaimed space. "How is this possible?" demanded Councillor Blocks, all 8 of his limbs moving in agitation. "Their technology was basic level just 2 years ago." Ambassador Krall stood before the angry assembly, his scales pale with stress. "The humans have developed technology that interferes with our systems. When our ships enter these areas, our advantages are neutralized." Supreme Elder Dawes raised his thin hand, calling for silence. The room gradually quieted as the ancient leader prepared to speak. "What do they want?" he asked, his voice carrying despite its softness. "Have they made demands?" "They request a full Council session," Krall replied, "with all primary representatives present. They say they wish to renegotiate their relationship with the galactic community." The chamber filled with translated exclamations of alarm and disbelief. "Renegotiate?" asked Councillor Zexatera, her skin flashing patterns of confusion. "They are a junior species, they don't set terms, we do." "Perhaps," Elder Dawes said thoughtfully. "That is no longer the case." 2 weeks later, humanity revealed itself fully. A human diplomatic vessel arrived at the Council's orbital headquarters near the galactic core. Unlike the primitive ships the Council had previously observed, this craft displayed technology that even the most advanced Council species found difficult to understand. The ship, named Unity, approached the massive ring-shaped station that had served as the Council's headquarters for thousands of years. It moved with grace and precision, its hull gleaming in the light of the nearby stars. Inside the Council chamber, representatives from hundreds of species waited nervously. Many had traveled for days to witness this historic, and potentially dangerous, meeting. Admiral Alan Grant, now serving as Earth's ambassador, walked into the Council chamber flanked by Director Elizabeth Carter and Dr. Samantha Rivera. They wore simple but elegant uniforms that displayed Earth's new symbol, a blue planet with a network of silver lines connecting it to many stars. They carried no weapons. They didn't need to. The message their very presence delivered was clear. Enough! Honorable representatives of the Galactic Council, Grant began, his voice calm but firm. For over a year, Earth has maintained silence. During that time, we've made discoveries about this council that troubled us deeply. He activated. A small device and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed historical records extracted from the Council's own archives, evidence of systematic suppression of emerging civilizations, technological embargoes, and carefully managed development designed to keep new species dependent on Council approval. You presented yourselves as teachers and guides, Grant continued, but acted as masters. You offered technological gifts with one hand while making sure we could never truly advance beyond your control with the other. Several council members shifted uncomfortably, but none spoke to deny the accusations. Director Carter stepped forward. Humanity chose silence not out of weakness, but as strategic necessity. While you believed us contained and obedient, we expanded, we developed, we prepared. Dr. Rivera completed their presentation by activating a galaxy-wide display showing the true extent of human expansion. Dozens of star systems now protected by Prometheus fields, with hundreds more within immediate reach. We do not come seeking war, Grant assured the stunned assembly. We come offering a new relationship, one based on real equality and respect, not control. Supreme Elder Dawes, his ancient eyes showing recognition of a fundamental shift in the galactic order, spoke for the Council. And if we refuse these new terms? Admiral Grant's expression remained calm. Earth was silent because we were listening, learning, and building. Our silence was not submission. It was preparation. You should have recognized what it truly meant. He gestured to the holographic display showing the expanding network of human colonies and installations. The dampening fields are just the beginning of what we've developed. We sincerely hope diplomatic relations can be established on new terms, but make no mistake, humanity will never again accept a subordinate position. In the tense silence that followed, the Council representatives exchanged glances, realizing a devastating truth. Their carefully maintained hierarchy, stable for thousands of years, had been fundamentally challenged. The humans had accomplished, in silence, what many species had failed to achieve through open rebellion. Finally, Elder Dawes spoke again. You have given us much to consider, Ambassador Grant. The Council will discuss your proposal. Of course, Grant replied with a slight bow. We will await your response aboard our ship. As the human delegation left the chamber, the murmuring began. Some delegates called for immediate military action. Others argued for acceptance of the new reality. Still others suggested deception, agree to human terms now, plan to deal with them later. In a private chamber adjacent to the main hall, Elder Dawes met with the Council's inner circle. The humans have outmaneuvered us, he said simply. Their dampening field technology changes everything. We could marshal the combined fleets, suggested Security Director Thalvex. Even with their dampening fields, they cannot stand against our numbers. And risk having more of our technology neutralized, countered Councilor Zexitara. What if their dampening fields can be deployed as weapons? What if they can be expanded? Ambassador Krell, who had spent more time studying humans than anyone else in the room, shook his head. There is another concern. If we move against the humans, other species may see it as an opportunity. The Vexari have long resented our restrictions. The Taurans have grievances about territory. If we appear vulnerable, Elder Dawes nodded slowly. Then we must negotiate for now. 3 days later, the historic Earth Council Accords were signed. The agreements recognized humanity's right to develop without restriction, acknowledged their territorial claims, and established new protocols for technology sharing among all Council species. As the formal ceremonies concluded, Admiral Grant and Director Carter stood at a viewport on the Unity, looking out at the Council station. Do you think they'll honor the agreements? Carter asked. Some will, some won't, Grant replied. But it doesn't matter anymore. The Council's greatest weapon was the dependency of other species on their technology. We've broken that chain, not just for ourselves, but potentially for others. Carter nodded thoughtfully. Speaking of others, we've received communications from the Talarians. They're requesting our assistance. And 3 other developing civilizations as well, Grant added. What began as Earth standing alone is becoming something larger, a fundamental restructuring of galactic society. The Council feared our silence, Carter said, because they recognized the pattern from their own history. Species who grow quiet are often preparing to speak with force. And now? Grant asked. Now, Carter replied, we ensure that no civilization needs to fall silent again. True cooperation requires equal voices, and the Council is finally learning to listen. In his private chambers, Elder Dawes reviewed the terms of the new accords. In his thousands of years of life, he had seen empires rise and fall, species come and go. But never had he witnessed such a rapid shift in the galactic balance of power. They achieved in 1 year what most species struggle for centuries to accomplish, he said to his personal assistant. Perhaps we have been wrong all this time. Perhaps our careful management has been holding back the true potential of many species. His assistant, shocked by this admission, remained silent. Dawes turned to the window, looking out at the stars. The humans have taught us something important today. Sometimes silence is not defeat or confusion. Sometimes silence is the sound of gathering strength. Across the galaxy, the news spread quickly. Earth had challenged the Council and won. The long-established order was changing. New alliances were forming. Ancient restrictions were being questioned. Earth was silent no longer. And just as the humans had predicted, the galaxy would never be the same again.